ride round in circles, I can't find nowhere to go.
What's good, everybody? What's good? It's your boy, Cardinal Bud Crawford, or E.S. Red, if that's what you want to call me. And we are back for another one. Alright, y'all, so got a new topic for you. Quick new topic. Alright, we talking equality. Is Terence Bud Crawford worth $30 million plus to fight Errol Spence Jr.? Alright, so the closer and closer we get, seems like the further and further away this fight actually is. But I think the final sticking point, as we all know at this point for Terence Crawford, is the money. Now, we heard Errol Spence come out and say it's going to happen this year. I guarantee it'll happen this year. But the new question is Terence Crawford actually worth the 25 to 30 million that people have been reporting he's asking for? If you ask me, I think 30 million is excessive. I think 25 million is excessive for Terence Crawford. I think 20 million is reasonable. But you can make a case that's still a little excessive for Terence Crawford. 15 million, I think, is the perfect number for a fighter of Terence Crawford's caliber. The problem with that is that his hype is so big that the hype is selling him more than his talent is. Now, I've said this before in the past, but I definitely feel like it's at the point, especially with ESPN backing him, with, you know, his fan base, they're very loyal. They back him very strongly. And there are people who actually believe he's the best fighter in the world. There are people who believe that because of what he did in the past, he's worth these high dollar amounts. Now, I'm of the opinion that you're only as good as your last opponent. You're only as good as your last year within the sport, if you don't want to go just with the last opponent. But you're only as good as your last performance, basically. And, you know, unfortunately for Terence Crawford, he hasn't performed to the highest level of welterweight boxing. So if you're basing Terence Crawford's talent level off what he did in the past weight class, then you should be acceptive of the fact he doesn't deserve these high payouts. Because even when he was doing what he was doing at the lower weight class, he was only getting around $5 million. So if his talent level only caused for him to make $5 million at his best when he was doing his best work at the lower weight classes, why do you expect him to be worth 25 to 30 million plus now? And his welterweight resume is so horrible. You know, and I know people don't think that his welterweight resume is horrible. He fought Shawn Porter, he fought Kell Brook. But it's the timing of those fights. And real boxing analysts, fans, reporters know, because of the timing of those fights, they were not as competitive as they would have been at a different time. So I think I'm going to start it out with that point. You know, he's not worth 25 to 30 million based off of his performances, based off of his strength of schedule, based off of the fact even at his best you weren't getting those type of paydays, and people consider his best 130 to 140. You weren't getting those type of paydays, so why should you now when you have done absolutely nothing as a welterweight? Errol Spence, on the other hand, has unified 3 titles as a welterweight. He's fought 3 champions as a welterweight and beat all 3 of them. And he's only asking, in my opinion, for probably around $30 to $35 million. So I don't get the Terence Crawford fan base and the Terence Crawford, Team Crawford, expecting such a high payout for something that you really haven't worked for. Not only that, but Terence Crawford is a victim of top-ranked boxing. There's been many victims of top-ranked boxing, but he's a different type of victim. He's a victim of his own success with top-ranked boxing. And he's a victim of in-house fights with top-ranked boxing. I think two things are troubling Terence Crawford in his new pursuit in the boxing world outside of Top Rank. And the first thing is, he was spoiled by Bob Earl with the money he was making. And I think he was spoiled and he was underpaid at the same time. He was spoiled because his talent level didn't call for him to be paid $5 million, $4 million, $5 million per fight. Plus, he was getting back-end money. We just don't know the percentage of back-end money. But I think he was spoiled by Top Rank. But also, he was underpaid by Top Rank at the same time. He was underpaid because he became a talent. But he became a talent because of in-house fighting, because of the way that Top Rank match makes. Because they had so many fights to be made from 130 to 140 at that time, and their plan was to move him up in weight and still make in-house fights. But in the process of that, they lost Manny Pacquiao, they lost a bunch of other potential welterweights, and it seemed like Bob Earl was just getting out of the welterweight business anyway. So I feel like he was a victim of the matchmaking with Top Rank. I feel like if they would have matched him up with other fighters, not just Top Rank fighters, I think he would be a more household name. I think he would be more respected in the way that Errol Spence is respected. Not to say he's not, but I think his fan base would be bigger. His fights would sell more. And I feel like the fact that they didn't match him up correctly and they didn't place him with Manny Pacquiao, that could have destroyed his career completely. Listen, if Terence Crawford didn't have that Shawn Porter fight, at this point he would basically be a nobody. He needed a fight to just put himself back in front of the public. And he needed a welterweight fight to put himself back in front of the public. Because it had been, let me see, who did he fight before? I can't even remember who he fought before Shawn Porter. I think it was Kell Brook before Shawn Porter. I think it was Kell Brook before Shawn Porter. But the Shawn Porter fight, it put him back in front of the public eye, because he was running the risk of being forgotten about, because Bob Earl had no welterweights to match him up with. And I think that's one of the reasons that Terence Crawford got so angry with Bob Earl and then called him all type of ugly names and now is suing him, is because I don't think he anticipated for Top Rank to get out of the welterweight business. They had promised him when he left 140 that he was going to be moving to welterweight and they would be making in-house welterweight fights. I'm pretty sure they promised him all type of crap. But I think he's a victim of not taking that Manny Pacquiao fight, or when he should have, because that Manny Pacquiao fight could have skyrocketed him past Errol Spence, what Errol Spence Jr. had been doing at the time. Errol Spence Jr. was doing great things, but only because of the fact that PBC had a lot of fights in welterweight to offer him. Now, if Top Rank had those same fights to offer him as a welterweight, I don't think his fan base would be so small, and I don't think he would sell such small amounts of pay-per-views. So he's he had good success with Top Rank, but he's also a victim of Top Rank. He got paid well by Top Rank, but he also got underpaid by Top Rank. And one more thing, I think Terence Crawford is going to be a victim of not branching outside of Top Rank. I think he's going to be one of those guys who once he finally does get that fight, that's not an in-house fight, and that's a fight versus high-level competition. That's not an in-house fight, i.e. the Errol Spence fight. I think you're going to see them babying him along so much was not a good thing. When they put him in there with a fighter who doesn't have anything to gain just by getting in the ring with him, like an in-house fighter does, who doesn't have maybe a friendship built up with him, kind of like a Shawn Porter did, that when they've been talking crazy about this guy for about 4 or 5 years, and he gets in and starts beating on you with no mercy and no Bob Arum to step in, then you're going to see that there are two different levels to this. There's a Top Rank level, there's a PBC level. When those two teams clash, even though he's not Top Rank anymore, you're going to see that there is no mercy. There is no mercy. Even though, they're both black fighters, there is no mercy in equality. You're going to get an equal share of the ass whooping. And I think we're going to see that very clearly when this fight does happen. So let me know what y'all think about that. I'm done rambling on. Is this an equal fight? Is Terence Crawford actually worth the $30 million plus that they're saying he's demanding, or will he be a victim and a victim of Top Rank boxing? And was he underpaid and overpaid at the same time? All right, man, hit that like button for me. Share, subscribe. Tell a friend. Holler at me on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTubes. You're more likely to get a response on YouTubes than any other social media platform. So if you want to holler at me over there. It's your boy, Cardinal Bud Crawford, or E. That's Red, if that's what you want to call me. And we are out of here.
Know you niggas praying to God that these feds scared us.